Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and with me on our panel today we have Alex, the model.
Oh yeah, here you go.
There we go. Thank you, Alex. And we also have David, who could also be a model, but he hasn't got the t-shirt on. So we are going to be covering the home defeat against the lightning champion Stockport, and look forward to the trip to Harrogate where we get the great escape back on track. If I seem like I'm in a cheerful mood, I am, because moments before we started recording, Rosie did a left-handed cartwheel for probably the first time, and she's very, very proud of herself. So I have to mention that and let everyone know, because I'm scared. So, as always, engagement is important. Please like, share, join in the discussion, stay connected, connect with other Sutton fans as well, especially with the close season coming up. You can all be bored together. All the likes and shares and comments really do help us grow and reach more of an audience. Thanks to everyone who does it always. I mean, there's certain people I can always rely on with the likes and shares. Alex, you're one of them on Instagram. It's literally, it comes out and Alex is liking it, so I love that as well. And but we will dive in. We've got opposite ends of the appearance spectrum today. Alex, I'm still in a little bit of awe and how well you functioned early morning after a night out in Manchester, but just over a week since you were on. How have you been?
Yeah, very good, thank you, mate. Although the last podcast appearance likely to be slightly more upbeat than this one. I'll do my best.
Yeah, think of the left-handed cartwheel. Come on.
Yeah.
And David, been a little while for you. I think you've been very busy listening to and downloading podcasts in Spain, because that could be the only reason for my chart position in Spain going up and down. But December 2022 was the last time. How have you been since then? That was a while, yeah.
I've been pretty good since then, actually. Yeah. All good. Yeah, and yes, I do tune in regularly, Mike. Of course.
Yeah, well, it must be on 4 different Alexas and several different devices to help me get into the charts in Spain, but I don't know why else. It must be just you and a small group.
Is it your fault? Is it all your fault then, David? Because we were doing pretty well in December 2022. Since then, it's not been great.
Little bit of news. Ladies' side were 0-0 at half time against a very good Saltine, and I don't know what happened in the second half, but they lost 5-0. Well, it was 5-0 when I last looked, so it clearly they stepped it up in the second half, Saltine. So unlucky to ladies there. The Aubergine Dream shirt auction is still going ahead. Details are on the website, and there is a raffle, £5 a ticket, I think it is, and you get them from Louise behind the bar. So anyone going on Tuesday can pick them up and do the crawling match. And what else is there? Oh yeah, there's the training ground visit, which is coming up for people who did the shirt sponsors. So I was kind of lucky enough to get invited to that and get a day off work. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Not going to be so great because I did drop my phone and it looks horrendous. I don't even know where it is now. It's the 60th podcast of the season. That's
Wow.
Yeah. Feel tired.
Great.
And also, personally, I did mention, I think, Alex, when you were on, that I dropped my mug, and Ozzy listened, and Ozzy bought me a new mug with my little heady banner there. So thank you very much, Ozzy, for my mug. I also, if anyone else is interested, I crashed my Ferrari into my Lamborghini. So if anyone else wants to help. But no, genuinely, thank you, Ozzy. I was really, really touched for that. Right, it's into pre-match. I thought it was a nice, easy 11 out of 11, and I put Goody in for Jackson. And it turns out that Goody was injured, and Lewis came in. How are you feeling about the lineup? We'll start with you, David. How are you kind of feeling on the lineup side for yesterday?
Well, it seems like we've settled. Well, I say we. It seems like the manager has settled on a starting 11, doesn't it? More or less. So it's becoming quite predictable in a way that it wasn't a few weeks ago. So no major surprises. So I knew Jackson was injured, so it was just a question of who was going to step in there, and so there's only so many people that can move in, right? So no surprises.
No,
I don't think.
Yeah, I think I did expect Goody, but obviously something's happened in the week. No East again. We won't talk about that. Alex, what did you think of the lineup and what you expected?
Similar to you, Mike, I thought it would be Goody as the only change. I think the fact that he wasn't on the bench suggests, as you say, that it's an injury rather than a tactical decision or anything like that. I think the only other thing to mention is that I was surprised to not see Duke McKenna on the bench as well. I know he hasn't been, and then he was, I think, on Easter Monday. I think we're slightly lacking. The squad's a bit thin at the moment because of various injuries, so we're slightly lacking off the bench options. So I can only assume he picked up a knock or something during the week. Otherwise, I'm sure he'd have been on. But no, from the starting lineup, as David said, it's going to be relatively settled. And I think the same for the last few games of the season.
Yeah. Am I missing something here, Mike? Do we know whether Craig Eastman is injured, or is he just not in the team, or do we know what the story is there?
You might have missed last week's one where I confidently, and I mean confidently, corrected Paul Chalmers that Eastie had come on, and it wasn't Eastie, it was Craig Clay, and Eastie wasn't even in the squad. But I think he has been injured, and
right.
I don't remember who told me this, so this might be something I shouldn't know. But I believe should be in contention for Harrogate.
Which would be great considering that Charlie went off injured at half time yesterday.
But I'm not sure whether that was someone told me or someone was hoping. I don't 100%.
Well, I always feel a ton better when he's either playing or at least on the bench, because from my perspective, he's a kind of personification of what we are. So
but this is what we were kind of saying last week, though. It's strange to be in a position where you're going into games fairly confident, at least he's not even in contention. I mean, on the confidence thing, it was really bizarre with the expectations. So I did a little prediction league, and I like to have a little look at what everyone's doing. And we had 40% for each side winning and 20% for a draw. So it was very, very kind of like even. And I was like, that's what happens. You get overconfident, string a couple of results together, and suddenly that's it. Bring them all on. We'll take everyone on. But how are you feeling? We'll start with you, Alex. How are you feeling ahead of the match?
Not good. Partly due to the fact that I had four mates from Stockport coming down for the game as well, and they were very keen to point out how good they were before the match, and so it transpired that they were. But no, I mean, I think, as you know, Mike, I always try and be optimistic. I always predict 4-0 to Sutton, mainly because that's just what I want to happen. But I think the difference, the 4 wins we'd picked up, with the exception of Forest Green, who were obviously scrapping for survival as well, the other 3 teams, not loads to play for. Whereas playing someone like Stockport, who are very much going for the title, still got plenty to play for in that regard. It was always going to be a bigger challenge. And that's before you even consider the fact that they are such a good team. You know? So, I mean, optimistically hoping for something, but did not get off to the best start, did we?
No, we'll come to that. It's funny you say 4-0, because I actually said to a few people in the bar when they were saying, what do you feel? Genuinely, my feelings at the moment are ranging from 4-0 to us all the way through every result to 4-0 to them. Yeah. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised with anything. But what about yourself, David? How are you feeling ahead of kickoff?
Well, I was feeling relieved that we're even in a position where it matters at this stage, to be perfectly honest, because I think a few weeks ago it was looking a bit dark. So I'm always optimistic and I'm always hopeful. So I like to think that we can win every game, although realistically, if there was one of the last 4 that we have, as it was yesterday, this was likely to be the most difficult one, and it was, and we lost. So, so I don't. The manner of the defeat was not like the last time we played them.
No.
So it wasn't a grim, abject defeat. But we didn't appear to get going in quite the same way as we did against the other teams recently, and it just didn't really come alive. And I guess we're going to get onto this, Mike, but I'm jumping the gun maybe. But you're asking before the game. Before the game, yeah, I was hopeful, but not super confident.
Yeah, I mean, the conditions were a bit weird. I mean, I know the conditions for both teams. I'm not saying that. It's just a bit weird. The wind was warm and absolutely just swirling around the place, which is always going to be a worry. I did wonder, would it play into their feet better because they have it on the ground a bit more? But by the same token, lots of people telling me confidently that they struggled against Wimbledon because Omar absolutely bullied their back line. I was like, well, Smith can do that. We'll have Ali, not Ali, which Harry to bully them as well. So again, it was just flicking backwards and forwards the whole time. But as Alex kind of mentioned, so we'll start with you again, Alex. An unfortunate corner, not cleared, and we left Paddy Madden unmarked. Or is that harsh? Did we leave Paddy Madden unmarked, or did he do what good strikers do and find a bit of space? Because it's not something you do deliberately. Go, he'll be all right, but won't pass him, won't bother marking him. How are you feeling?
First thing to say is I think the noise you just made there, Mike, that side summed it up. It was so frustrating because against a team as good as Stockport, you just got to try and keep it tight for as long as you can, really. And then as the game goes on, you get more chance of nicking something. And then to do that in the first 2 or 3 minutes was hugely disappointing. I think it was poor defending, unfortunately. Having watched it back, I think the balls over the top of our left-hand side were a problem all game, and I'm sure we'll come to that with a couple of the other goals. But yeah, I mean, he's good. Obviously, he's a bit of a cheat code. The man, frankly, he's a ridiculous good player for League Two level, but he should not be allowed that much space at the start of the game when you're all in theory, mentally switched on and right there, ready for it, and he's got a tap in the 6-yard box. It's not good enough.
No. And David, how did you sort of see the first goal?
Well, the timing's dreadful. Because I think, as Alex says, you know these kinds of games, well, in all games really, but in this kind of game, when you're going to have a lot of pressure, you just want to try and hang on in there for 15, 20, 25 minutes and see if you can nick something at the other end and maybe get some corners and free kicks and all that usual stuff. So it was a bit of a, bucket of cold water on the afternoon, wasn't it, that early in the game? Yes, it hit the bar and came off it, didn't it? So I guess he just happened to be in the right place at the right time, as good strikers tend to be, and he appeared to be alone as well. But I'm not. I don't have any badges. I'm not a football coach. I couldn't tell you. I'm not able to tell you whether that was good, bad, or indifferent, or whether that's just. I mean, fortunately in football there are goals, and I guess in most goals at some level there is some mistake by somebody, or there is some imperfection in the defence. I mean, you can't avoid that, can you? So. And the ball equally could have hit the bar and gone over and headed off in the. So
there's a lot of variables, but
there's a lot of exactly, a lot of if buts and maybes. It doesn't really matter very much. It just
it did in the back of the net, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Now I didn't see the second one because something happened in the build-up, which made me just turn away and stare over the wreck in absolute, for God's sake. And then I heard the cheer and went, "Oh right, I was right to turn away." But David, did you see the second one, and what were your thoughts of the second? It was about the half-hour mark, I think it was.
Alex, can you remember the detail of the second goal?
Well, I think memory serves me correctly. Ball over the top of the left, we get caught.
Left side,
and they pull it back, and again, Madden's coming in on the edge of the box, and can just sweep it in. And again, I'm not sure how he's got that much space to run on the edge of the box. It's a good run. He's timed it perfectly because he's come on.
Well, it was I mean, it was a screamer basically. I mean,
I think that was the third.
Sorry, beg your pardon. That was the third goal, wasn't it? Yeah.
This one, it goes over the top of Hart, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it goes. Yeah, I beg your pardon. Yeah.
And Madden's coming in sort of just inside the area to just slot it home.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's a well-timed run, but again, he got so much room.
Yeah, he looked like he was. I mean, again, I'm not the person to analyse the defence, but it looked like he had a lot of space around him for being in the penalty box. But I'm sure that they'll have to analyse that this week. But
yeah,
yeah, that's right. Sorry, I was getting confused between the second and third ones for a minute there.
That's all right. Alex, anything to add on it, or are you happy with that? We're half hour in. We're 2-0 down.
In the interest of being positive, nothing to add, Mike.
No, perfect. So, I mean, the guys around me were, after the first goal, they were like, Christ, that's even worse than we were up there because we conceded even earlier. But the second goal, at least we kept it tight because at one stage when we were up there, they were worried it was a goal every 4 minutes or something stupid. It could have been a cricket score. We did then come back into it. Josh, who quite rightly we've been praising the last few weeks because he has been great, has then added running into the box to his repertoire and getting knocked over. And we won a penalty. I'll start with you, David, on this one. So I know Alex has got some things to mention. But what did you kind of feel about the penalty at the time, and what was your view of it? And obviously Charlie scored, but what was your view of it?
Well, my view of it was that, if Sutton getting a penalty, I fully support those decisions. Right? it looked like a penalty to me, but I mean, I was, I don't know. Was it? I mean, I wasn't in the stadium. I was watching on iFollow. So, from where you normally stand, Mike, did you get a good view of it?
Yeah. I'll tell you in a sec. But yeah, it did definitely look like a penalty. It was one of those that you wonder were you going to get. But it definitely looked like a penalty to me. But as you said about the badges, I'm not a referee either. But I have asked the referee. Alex,
if it wasn't a penalty, he did the dive looked very penalty-like.
No, it wasn't.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a pen. I've watched it back.
Yeah,
he gets clattered.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'll go to you, Alex, and hear your view, and then I'll tell you. Right. It's not that it's a dive. It's just
okay. So my issue with this whole thing is that he's through on goal. Really, he's almost inside the 6-yard box, and the guy shoulder barges him. I think it's penalty because I think it's more than just shoulder barge. I think he just clocks him off the ball, really. And so if you decide to give that as a foul, which the referee has done, you can debate whether it's a foul or not. Maybe I think it's a penalty, but you can have that debate. If you decide that is a foul, it has to be a red card. And this was the screenshot I sent you last night, Mike, of the rule, which I've actually got in front of me. So it says you give a red card if you deny the other team a goal or obvious goal-scoring opportunity by committing a foul, except when a penalty kick is awarded for a foul that was an attempt to play the ball, in which case it's a yellow card. Now, looking at the coming together of the players, the shoulder barge, there's absolutely no intention to play the ball at all. So as I say, you can debate whether or not it's foul, but if you give the foul, as the referee has done, it has to be a red card. And I cannot believe that it wasn't. And the fact that he went and spoke to the linesman for so long made me think, okay, he's doing this. And I'd love to hear the conversation because he's saying, I've given a foul. Do you think it was a foul? They've agreed it was. Do you think it was a clear goal scoring opportunity? Yes. Was he making an attempt to play the ball? I can't see how you can answer that with yes. It's got to be a red card. And I think it's completely ridiculous that it wasn't. Sorry, over.
No, that's fine. So I did double check because I was like, obviously there was a lot of noise around, and I was like, well, because of the penalty's been given, that whole double jeopardy comes into play.
If he's playing the ball.
Right. So apparently the wording is a genuine attempt of challenging for the ball, and apparently it was tweaked at the start of this season, where you can challenge for the ball using your upper body. Previous seasons, it was only a challenge with the lower body, and the referee has obviously seen it as, obviously he gets one shot from his angle, has seen it as a shoulder barge, and the attacker's gone down. So he feels it was aggressive enough that it was potentially a penalty, because I think Josh, I don't think it was actually a shoulder barge in the end, because it was going to be a shoulder barge, but Josh then just got in front of him, so it ended up being shoulder to back. But the referee has obviously deemed, either not seen it from his angle, which is always possible, or he's deemed it as that falls into the category of a genuine attempt to the ball with his shoulder, genuine challenge with the ball with the upper body, and that's why he didn't give the red that we were all desperately hoping for. I don't know, and this is only on someone watching it back over a replay. Again, it could be their interpretation, somebody else's interpretation, but apparently there is a reason that the shoulder barge, which we all kind of like, he just absolutely floored him. It can be deemed as a genuine attempt for the ball.
Or just linesman.
No. I mean, you rarely get that. I mean, the only one we got that was it Colchester where they spoke. Oh no, Grimsby, but he spoke to the referee for ages and ages and ages. So you don't normally get that kind of thing. But apparently, this did fall into or it could. I'm not saying, obviously, I don't know what the referee's point of view was at all. But yeah, I did look into it and think, no, this can't be right. This can't be right, because obviously, if we were playing against 10 men, it could have been a different story. Mind you, they might have stepped it up in the second half anyway. But yeah, apparently that's what it could have been. So I did homework too, you see. For the first time ever.
I'm not as well genned up on as you two are, I don't think. But I
wasn't until this morning.
But I would have been surprised if that had been a red card. I mean, because I think the general precedent is once you've given a penalty and there's a yellow, I think it was a yellow card, right? So it's yellow card and a penalty, and I think that's almost as much you're likely to get. I don't, for just based on feeling of watching games.
Yeah, I think because the rule was brought in, the double jeopardy thing, if I remember, this bit I'm vague on, was because if it's stopped a goal scoring opportunity, you're now giving back a goal scoring opportunity and the player's getting a yellow. Whereas before it was like you're getting the goal and the red as well. So I think it's a tough one. But I was just delighted that Josh was flying into the box and got the contact, and it's like, that's what we've been asking for all season. Just get into the box and go over it when someone touches you. No, I mean, when you get fouled, obviously, not cheap. But we were then creeping to half time, kind of going, okay, we're going to get there. We're going to get half time, 2-1.
Yeah.
We'll have the wind. Okay, it's all going to work in our favour. I mean, the wind, I did mention it, but there was one clearance that someone did that they booted it. It went up and round and landed back further back than they were. I can't remember who it was, but it was just like, that is ridiculous. But yeah, Paddy Madden scored his second hat-trick of the season against us. I don't think there's any sort of question on defending on this one. It was just one of those.
I do.
You? Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, definitely.
I thought this was a great goal.
It is. Yeah. You know, the strike's amazing, but it comes from a ball over the top of our left-hand side again, and we actually we do all right with it, and then Nino has a chance to clear it and put his foot through it, and it's probably half-time, and he scuffs it straight to their right back, and they play it around a bit, and then it comes eventually to Paddy on the edge of the box, and it is then a screamer. But I'm being a little bit negative today. I don't mean to be intentional. You've got to clear better than that. Just before half time.
I was just looking at the goal game.
Screamer.
The old saying, you don't save those. But what was your view of it, Dave?
Well, it was just. I was all the time I was watching the game. I thought, okay, if we can just kind of hang on in here at 2-1 with the wind behind, it appeared to be directly behind us in the second half, or it would have been, and keeping it at 2-1, you're just always in with a chance, aren't you? But hey, there you go, and it was a great goal. The guy, absolutely lashed it, and there was not much that our goalkeeper Steve Arnold could do about that, was there really? So it was all. But the timing, the timings were not going in out. It was not a good afternoon, basically. The timing of the first goal was horrendous. The timing of the third goal was horrendous. And the timing of the second one as well. But the third one and the first one are just kind of really bad times in the game to be conceding goals. And it did definitely, I don't know what it was like in the stadium and the ground, but it just felt like it dampened the optimism, and it never really looked after that. In the second half, it never really looked as if we were going to get anywhere near them. So we didn't play badly. It wasn't so we could have lost 4-5-6-1, but we didn't. So that's good. So it was defensively quite good, but you got the impression they slightly took their foot off the gas, and we didn't seem to be offering too much going forward either, and it just all kind of slightly fizzled out, or at least that's how I saw it.
Well, yeah, actually, that was one of the things I was saying is the second half was a lot quieter. Was that down to us not playing well, pushing the game, just trying to keep the score down, or was it down to them taking their foot off the gas and just managing the game? But listening
I think
to their manager, I think it's the latter.
Well, it sounds to me, it looked to me like their defence was very, very effective. I mean, they basically shackled our, they shackled Ollie and Harry, and we just didn't seem to be getting very much. The ball was never really served up to them in a way which they could do much with. It was all just kind of flying around and a bit scrappy, and not much for them to work off as far as I could see. And I don't know, the left-hand side wasn't working quite as well as it had been in previous weeks. So I don't know whether there was a bit of tiredness, or I don't know. Who knows? It just didn't. It didn't spark yesterday down the left. Like Nino's been great in the last few weeks, and I don't think there was any shortage of effort yesterday. But it just wasn't sparking, and we didn't seem to be creating much down the left as we have been doing. So why, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because life is life. It doesn't always go your way, does it?
No, exactly. Not everyone has a great day at work always. But
no.
Alex, I mean, Dave Challender's got in his interview, he kind of said that about 25 minutes he knew what substitution he was going to make at half time, and he knew he just wanted to keep it, just manage it out. He did have a little bit of a pop at the pitch, to be honest with you, but I was like, that's not very nice. But he mentioned
going right when we rolled to Paddy Madden to
I
won't think either that.
But he did also say that it's actually quite difficult to play in the conditions, even when the wind is with you. It's quite hard to judge how far that ball is going to carry. But what were your thoughts on sort of the second half? There wasn't an awful lot of talking points, to be honest. But what were your thoughts on the half in half?
I've seen nothing happen. No, it was sorry. That doesn't make for a very good start for a podcast answer. But I've seen nothing happen in the second half. I actually think we played all right. I think because you're right. If we had played poorly, and it's very conceivable, kind of as what happened at their place, we could have lost by a lot more. We could have gone heads down, and we could have let in, 5, 6, 7-1 or whatever. But I actually think we played all right. I just think they managed it really well. They look really good. They look solid. They look well set up. You can absolutely see why they're top of the league for all the brilliance of Madden up front, and he is fantastic. The way the defence marshaled it, and the number 8 in midfield, I can't remember his name, but he was very, very good as well. So yeah, I think we played all right. I wouldn't be too disheartened with the performance. I think it just, you can't, as you say, you can't legislate for the win because no one really trains for the win. So it does make it a bit of a weird game. But yeah, they look really well set up, and I think they'll probably win the league.
Yeah. I mean, someone did say, I can't remember who it was around me, but someone said, but you can't train for these kind of conditions because what can you do? You can't have a wind tunnel and go, right, we're going to train with a 45 mile an hour wind against us.
When you go on your training ground visit, you should find out there's a specially prepared bobbly pitch, Mike.
Yeah. I might not ask Steve that. He might still be in a bad mood by the time we get to. But yeah, his interview was short and sweet. He wasn't very impressed. I thought that was a little bit harsh. I don't think the players were that bad. I know there was a few individual mistakes, but with League Two, there's going to be a few individual mistakes. But yeah, he was a little harsher than normal. I know he doesn't like losing, but it was.
Well, he doesn't like talkative interviews either.
No. Well, he did. He spoke to me for an hour, so I'm just saying.
No, that was me. You talking, Mike?
Fair enough. and Kathy and Sally Coffee. But after the match, so post-match, not much has changed. So, I mean, Grimsby won, so they've moved a little bit further away. Colchester could end up being demoralised even with losing after being in a winning position. but they literally only need 1 point from these games in hands to go above us. But then they've got Stockport themselves on Tuesday. Can't remember who they got the following week, but then they got Grimsby.
Crawley away.
Crawley are going for the playoffs, which doesn't help us, or it might do. But what are your kind of thoughts on anything changed on the big picture, David, on after that loss?
Well, I don't quite agree with you in saying that nothing really changed, because I think this in the situation we're in. I mean, we just have to get points because, and the comparison week by week or game by game with the rest is kind of irrelevant, really, because we sort of know that unless we get some, as we've been saying recently, having won four games on the trot, we just had to get points. So not getting points yesterday was bad. I mean, 1 would have been good, 3 would have been better, because the fact the others lost, they will win other games. So we need to get points on the board. So I did a few weeks ago. I did a little bit of a study of the last 10 seasons in League Two of point totals you're going to likely have to have, and I didn't do it in a completely scientific way. I should have. My modelling was a bit shabby, really, but basically around 45 looks like you're going to be okay most seasons. So that means we need 2 wins out of 3. Probably, I suspect, maybe a bit more than that. I don't know, but it really doesn't matter now, because the only thing that matters now is what we do. We can do absolutely nothing. I mean, we're not holding the trump card at the moment, are we? So so Colchester all the other teams are holding a card over us. I think apart from Forest Green, I've got
one. They got 2 games. Sorry, 1 game in hand on us.
Yeah, they got 1 game in hand, and they've got a worse goal difference. So arguably, you can say we are in all senses in a better position than Forest Green. But for the rest, it's not in our hands. So therefore, all we can do is just win, basically.
Well, going back to what Alex was saying earlier, obviously we don't. I mean, this kind of moves on to the next game, but we don't want Harrogate on the beach yet, because they've actually got one of the teams around us. I think Grimsby. Yeah. So we want them to beat Grimsby and then go on the beach, because they've got nothing else really to worry about. We could then find, depending on how other results go, Crawley could be nicely settled into the playoffs, and the result not mean an awful lot against them. Although they'd want to beat us. You kind of do wonder whether they want to send us down if they're not going to get promoted, because they would also possibly not have a local team around. And then we've already discussed the death MK Dons. Hopefully they're going to be nicely in the playoffs, but not in the autos, so that they do want to rest players and not give their fans a treat. But post-match, lots of doom and gloom. Lots of people go, that's it. It's like, hang on, you wouldn't have thought that we just won 4 games in a row. Very quick to turn, I thought. And obvious concerns over Charlie's possible injury. It could be just a knot that was easy to be run off. These football players are quite tough. But did you sort of pick up anything else that people were chatting about, either of you, or was it just mostly those 2?
I think, so just quickly on Charlie's injury, that's massive. That's absolutely enormous, I think, particularly if Eastie is not around. I know you said he might be around for Harrogate, but realistically, is he going to start straight away, having not been in the squad for a while? Seems unlikely. So fingers and everything crossed that Charlie can make it on Saturday. I think this time next week will be huge, because they all play, Colchester, Forest Green and Grimsby all play a game in hand on Tuesday. Colchester have got Stockport, Grimsby have got Harrogate away, and Forest Green have got Mansfield away. So in theory, they should all lose, and we have to hope that they do. And then on the Saturday, we have, again, in theory, the easiest fixture of the 4 with Harrogate away, because Grimsby are away at Crewe, Forest Green are away at Wrexham, and Colchester are away at Crawley, who are all higher than Harrogate. So in theory, we've got the best chance of winning of those 4 fixtures on Saturday. And if all that happens, which I appreciate is a massive if it does, it could look a lot different come Saturday. And then it might be that we're in the Grimsby camp of hoping they batter Colchester when they play each other. We'll have to see how it all goes. But we just need to, as David says, focus on ourselves, try and get at least 2 wins from these last 3 games. I mean, 7 points would be unbelievable if we could try and nick something at MK Dons on the last day. But first thing, Harrogate, just go and beat them. You've just got to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've usually got a good result against Harrogate, apart from the reverse fixture this season. I think they've not actually beaten us. And they've done up and down recent weeks. They did really well at home against Gillingham, 5-1, I think it was. And then they lost to Notts County yesterday. So, I mean, we should have confidence to beat any team that loses to Notts County.
But I don't know where the negativity was. I don't feel that, actually. I don't think yesterday affects the essential narrative of the last few weeks. So things have improved enormously. The team is playing much better. There was a lot more energy about the team recently, and by now we've had this conversation earlier in the season about a week of training, all that. I think at this stage it's probably more about a week of ice baths and vitamin C and all that, or whatever that people do, and just get recovered and hopefully be ready for a week. Is a long time to prepare for another game, isn't it? And any knocks there are might clear up or not, I don't know, but I think we're absolutely 100% in this completely. No reason to be despondent at all. I think we've got the players, we've got the spirit, we've got the club, we got the lot. Yesterday, yeah, exactly. And yesterday, I think it was almost. It's never a given that we're going to lose, but it was a very tough ask yesterday to beat the league leaders, and we didn't. But it wasn't a desperate performance, and it wasn't an embarrassment, and we didn't get humiliated, and it wasn't horrendous. We just didn't really come out of the blocks like we have been doing recently. But I think largely that's because it's a much better team.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And their defence, as Alex was saying, they kind of marshalled our guys and just sort of took control of the match. Really, we didn't get much of a look in. So I'm staying optimistic and staying hopeful and keeping it simple. We need to go and win a game next Saturday, and that's it. And then we've got another week until another game. So there's plenty of recovery time, plenty of time for people to get their knocks sorted out if they've got them, and plenty of time to work on the tactical bit in terms of the opposition. So you would have thought all that would stand in our favour.
Yeah, because I think Colchester have got 6 games to fit in where we've only got 3 now. So it's going to be tough for those guys. But it's time for predictions. Oh, God, that sun really is bright. So it's now in the prediction league a 3-way battle with only 18 points left to play for. We've got Chalmers on 120 points, Andy on 128, and Paul on 132. Really, what the most exciting thing about this news is none of them are going to double my score. So I'm delighted, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do if I actually get one of these right, because I've got 52 wrong so far, and we've only played 52 games. So I feel that's really, really impressive. But I'm going to go with my normal 2-0. But the code is on the screen, anyone who wants to play along. Alex, we'll start with you. What would your prediction be? And do you know what? I haven't done this for ages. What would your message to the team be and your prediction?
You know what my prediction is going to be, which is Harrogate 0, Sutton United 4.
Okay.
And my message to the team would be, similar to what David was just saying. Believe in yourselves. You've had a cracking run of recent form. Losing to the likely champions doesn't change that. It doesn't change how well you've been playing. It shouldn't alter the confidence. I would just say, go for it. The same way we've been describing about Josh driving into the penalty area and winning things. Go for it. Take that risk. Beat that man and just give it your all, because it's 270 minutes of football left to save the League 2 status. So motivation should be there. So go for it.
Perfect. David, what would be your prediction and your message be?
My message? My prediction is always horribly wrong. I was wrong on Brexit and almost every other major thing in the last 10 years.
I did not think mentioned Brexit.
So this is not really a prediction. This is a wish. So it's Harrogate 0, Sutton United 3.
Oh, okay. So we've gone 2-0, 3-0, and 4-0.
Yeah, we want to score, and I'd like 2 goals to be scored in the first 20 minutes to settle nerves and to establish our authority on the game. That's my
excellent.
That's my wish. Is there a wish league as well as a prediction league?
Yeah, no, I think I would have won that because I don't think I've ever gone for a Sutton loss. I'm not quite as dramatic as Alex with 4-0s, but.
And I don't really have a message. I don't have a message for the team. I'm sure they got plenty of messages already. But just good luck, go for it, and have a good one.
Right. So let's just say you haven't got a message for the team. So they're going to invite you into the dressing room and go, right, we've got a fan to talk to you. You're going to walk in, look at them all, and just turn around and walk out.
Maybe that's the best thing to do.
Shut the door behind you.
Isn't that what Brian Clough used to do? He just kind of wander off half an hour before the match.
Drama.
Yeah, as you know what you're supposed to do. There was one actual thing that I actually forgot to mention. I know this doesn't mean anything to a lot of people, but lots of Stockport fans have commented on our away end stewards who get loads and loads of credit. I know some of the things can kind of pick up the wrong way where they're joining in and geeing the fans up and just generally make sure everyone's having a good time. But we are, like it or not, in a business of making sure people want to come back. And if people hear that Sutton United is a good day out, they'll be more likely to go, right, that's one of the games I'm going to. So I think it is positive. Doesn't help after a loss, but it is positive.
Just to add to that, Mike, a note that we didn't think we'd be finishing the podcast on, but the mates of mine who I mentioned who were in the away section yesterday said that the toilet facilities were excellent for away.
Yeah.
That was their main bit of feedback. So great.
It's a shame they didn't get to see the old toilets, which I thought were demolished, but they're still actually there. But they were absolutely just definite tourist attraction, but not for the right reasons. The old ones. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you all for listening to Sutton Podcast. As always, we appreciate your attention. So the mug has been broken, but very kindly replaced by this one with Aussie. Thank you very much again. Do follow us, give feedback, like, share, follow at Sutton Podcast on social media, and subscribe on your podcast platforms. Because
buy the merch.
Buy the merch. Yeah. Thank you. Cheers. Damn. YouTube does seem to be taking forever to load up today. Not today, but for the last few weeks. So it will always go out to the audio ones a little bit quicker. So if you subscribe on there, you'll know when they're available. But it's pretty standard. It's every Sunday from now on. Until next time, thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Big thank you to today's guests. We've got Alex and David. Thank you to the listeners. David, you can't leave it another sort of 16 months. I mean, we'll come back on at some point. Do hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Next up, we will be back on Sunday with Mark and Rory after the Harrogate match, unless anything really, really exciting happens. And I do one on Wednesday, but it's unlikely at the moment. Take care, and we will catch up soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.